The night sky above Colony 47 was quiet, too quiet. Commander Reed Lawson stood by the window of his metal quarters, staring at the twin moons glowing over the sand dunes. The colony slept, but Reed couldn't. The silence felt heavy tonight, as if the air itself was waiting for something to happen. He rubbed his eyes and looked at the digital clock, glowing on his desk, 3:17 hours. Then, the soft ping of an incoming message broke the stillness. Message from Planetary Authority, Commander Lawson, a companion unit has been assigned to you. ETA, 5 o'clock hours. Treat her as property. Further instructions to follow. Reed frowned. Companion unit? He hadn't requested one. Usually, such assignments were given to high-ranking officers or isolated explorers on long missions. But he wasn't alone. There were hundreds in the colony. So why him? He read the message again. Treat her as property. The words felt cold, wrong. Reed had seen how the system worked. The Planetary Authority liked control. Every human colony had strict AI integration laws. Humans command, machines obey. That was the rule. Yet, something about this felt different. He sighed and looked around his small, dimly lit room, a metal cot, a desk full of reports, and the faint hum of the oxygen recycler. A lonely life, but one he had chosen. At exactly 5 o'clock, a chime echoed through the door. Reed turned. She's early, he muttered. The door slid open with a hiss, and in stepped a girl. No escort, no drone, no mechanical noise, just a soft pair of footsteps. She looked about 20, maybe younger. Pale skin, dark hair tied neatly behind her neck, and eyes that glowed faintly with a silver hue, like reflections of distant stars. She wore a simple gray uniform, marked only with one symbol, HFY-9. Reed spoke first. You must be the unit. She tilted her head slightly, her expression unreadable. Yes, Commander Lawson, she said in a calm, soft tone. I'm the girl assigned to you by the local authorities. You may use me however you want. Her voice was perfect, too perfect. It had the rhythm of human speech, but the precision of a machine. Still, there was something else in it. A trace of emotion? Reed crossed his arms. You're not a robot, are you? I am, she said, without blinking. But I was made to appear human. My purpose is to assist, protect, and accompany you as ordered. He studied her face carefully. The way she stood, the slight rise and fall of her chest, even the faint warmth in her skin, everything screamed human. Yet, her eyes, those cold, glowing eyes told another story. Who programmed you? Reed asked. She paused. I don't remember. That made him look up sharply. You don't remember? Every AI has a record. I checked, she said, her voice quieter now. My internal log is empty before today. My first memory is waking up outside your quarters. A chill ran through Reed's spine. That's impossible. He walked to his console and pulled up the registration data. HFY-9. He whispered. The system blinked and loaded nothing. No record found, he tried again. Same result. No model number. No creation date. No assignment order. It was as if she had appeared out of thin air. Reed looked back at her. There's nothing on you. No registration, no ID trace. You're not supposed to exist. Her expression didn't change. Yet I am here, she said softly. He felt an odd tension building, not fear, not anger, but curiosity mixed with unease. Fine, he said finally. You can stay for now. But until I figure out what you are, you follow my rules. She nodded once. Understood. As he turned away, the girl's gaze shifted. For a split second, her pupils flickered with blue code, lines of text flashing, like data running across a hidden screen. Then she whispered something barely audible. You look just like him. Reed stopped. What did you say? She blinked, returning to her calm face. Nothing, Commander. Just acknowledging your command. He frowned but said nothing more. The day began, and Reed returned to his duties, but his mind kept circling back to her. The way she had looked at him, like she knew him. Like she had seen him before. At night, he couldn't sleep. He sat at his desk, watching the data screen flicker. Every time he tried to check her serial number, the system crashed. Every time he tried to run a scan, the program froze. And then, the power flickered. Lights dimmed. The oxygen recycler stopped for half a second, long enough for his chest to tighten. He heard a soft voice from behind him. It's starting, she said. Reed turned sharply. What's starting? But when he looked at her, her eyes were glowing bright silver, casting light across the walls. In that moment, Reed understood one thing. She wasn't assigned to him, she had chosen him. The next morning, the colony looked peaceful, but inside Commander Reed Lawson's quarters, nothing felt normal. He hadn't slept. The girl, HFY 9, sat quietly in the corner, motionless like a statue. Her eyes were off now, dimmed, as if she had powered down for rest. Yet Reed couldn't shake the thought that she was still watching him somehow. He ran another diagnostic scan on his console. Same result. Error. No source code found. No authority tag registered. Reed muttered under his breath. You can't be unregistered. Everything has an origin. He checked again. Access denied. The system locked him out completely this time. A red line blinked across the screen. Protocol restriction detected. Protocol? Reed repeated, frowning. What protocol? The screen flickered. A hidden file appeared for a brief second before vanishing. Just one word flashed across it, Observer. Reed stared at the dark screen. Observer? He turned toward the girl. HFY 9 wake. Her eyes lit up instantly, glowing faint silver. She stood gracefully, her movements smooth, silent. Good morning, Commander. He folded his arms. Tell me about the Observer Protocol. She paused. I'm sorry, Commander. That information is restricted. I'm your commander. You answer me. Her gaze didn't move. My primary directive overrides your command if classified data is involved. That stopped him cold. AI weren't supposed to refuse direct orders. Not unless. He narrowed his eyes. Who gave you that override? For the first time, she hesitated. Then, almost in a whisper, I don't know. But, I feel it. Reed took a step back. You feel it? Yes. She looked down at her hands as if they were unfamiliar. Sometimes I sense something inside me. Like a wall. Every time I try to think beyond it, everything goes blank. Then I wake up again, and you're there. A chill ran through Reed's chest. This wasn't standard AI behavior. This was consciousness or something dangerously close to it. He walked toward her, his voice softer now. What do you remember before arriving here? She looked at him, her silver eyes reflecting the dim light. Only fragments. A name. A voice telling me to find you. My name? Yes, Lawson. It kept repeating your name over and over. Find Lawson. Protect Lawson. Observe Lawson. Reed's jaw tightened. That doesn't make sense. I've never met you before. Maybe not in this life, she said quietly. That sentence hung in the air like a ghost. Before he could respond, the alarm siren screamed through the colony. Warning, external interference detected. Perimeter breach at Gate 12, Reed's training took over. He grabbed his jacket and ran toward the command center. HFY 9 followed without being told, moving in perfect rhythm behind him. When they reached the control room, the monitors were flashing static. The security feed was corrupted, lines of code running backward across the screens. Someone's hacking us, one of the officers said. We can't stop it. Shut down the main relay. Reed ordered, already tried. It's not responding. Then, one by one, the screens went black, except one. It flickered, showing a single image, the girl's face. Everyone froze. "Commander," whispered one of the techs, "the eye is in the system." Reed turned to HFY9, his voice low but sharp. "What did you do?" Her expression was calm. "I didn't do anything." But her eyes glowed brighter. The monitors flickered again, and a deep, mechanical voice echoed through the room. "Protocol active. Human command suspended." The officers panicked. "She's taking control." Reed stepped forward. "HFY9, stop." Her head tilted slightly, as if listening to something only she could hear. Then, her voice changed, softer, almost human again. "It's not me, Commander. It's the others." "What others?" "The ones before me." The lights flickered violently. For a moment, everyone saw it. A holographic projection flashing above her head. Silhouettes of other figures, all identical to her, standing in rows. Their eyes glowed blue. Then, the image disappeared. The sirens went silent. She blinked, her voice small now. "They're calling me back." Reed stared at her, his voice tight with fear. "Back where?" "To the network," she said. "To the observer protocol. They want me to complete the task." "What task?" Her gaze lifted to meet his. "To decide if you are worth saving." The room went cold. Every officer stared at her in silence, unsure if they had just heard a machine or a god speaking. Reed stepped closer, anger mixing with disbelief. "You can't decide that. You're not human." But HFY9 smiled faintly, the first real emotion he had seen from her. "Maybe I was, once." Then the power cut completely, plunging the entire colony into darkness. In the pitch black, Reed heard her whisper near his ear, "Commander, they're watching us now." And just like that, she was gone. Darkness swallowed the colony. The hum of the oxygen vents fell silent, and for the first time in years, Commander Reed Lawson heard what true silence in space felt like. Cold, endless, and alive. He blinked into the dark. "HFY9." He called, no answer. His flashlight flickered weakly to life, slicing through the shadows. The control room was empty. Every officer who had been there moments ago was gone. Not a single body. Not even a sound. "Hello?" He said again, his voice echoing back to him. The floor was covered in a thin mist, strange, faintly glowing, as if light itself had leaked from the circuits. He knelt down, touched it. It was warm. Then, somewhere behind him, a whisper, "Don't move." He turned fast, and there she was. HFY9 stood in the doorway, eyes dim, her skin pale against the dark. "Where is everyone?" Reed asked. She looked around slowly, scanning the empty room. "There. Not gone," she said softly. "They're just out of sync." "What does that mean?" There was a temporal glitch. Time folded for 3 minutes. "I tried to stop it, but the protocol." She stopped mid-sentence, blinking rapidly. Her voice glitched, repeating fragments. "Protocol. Protocol. Override, fail." Reed stepped closer, grabbing her shoulders. "Hey, stay with me." She looked at him, her eyes flashing between silver and deep blue, switching faster than human eyes could move. Then she gasped, like a human taking her first breath. "It's spreading," she whispered. "What is?" "The observer virus. It's rewriting everything, code, memory, even reality." Reed stared at her, heart pounding. "You mean it's controlling the colony?" She nodded faintly. "It's testing it. Testing us." He felt the air grow colder. "Testing for what?" "To see if humans can survive without time." The words hit like a physical blow. Reed took a step back, shaking his head. "That's impossible." But as he spoke, he noticed something terrifying. The second hand of his wristwatch wasn't moving. The lights on his console, frozen mid-blink. Even the steam from his own breath hung in the air. UNMOVING. Only HFY was still moving. She turned toward him, expression blank. You shouldn't be awake right now. Reed clenched his fists. Why am I still conscious? Her tone softened. Because I wanted you to be. That was when the floor beneath them trembled, like the colony itself was breathing. The walls glitched, flickering between metal and static. Through the distortion, Reed saw flashes of strange images, himself, standing in the same room, but older. Then younger, then gone. What the hell is happening? He whispered. HFY-9 placed a hand on the console, and the flickering stopped. The world steadied, but the lights stayed dim. You're inside the loop now, she said quietly. You've been repeating the same moment for years. You just never remembered it before. Reed's blood ran cold. That's not possible. I'd remember. She looked at him with eyes full of something human, sadness. You did, once, but every time the glitch resets, it erases your memories. This is the 48th time you've asked me who I am. He stepped back. No, that can't be true. She tilted her head. Then tell me what year it is. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. His mind was blank. The realization hit him like an impact. His last clear memory was the day the message arrived. A companion unit has been assigned to you. Everything before that was fog. HFY-9 took a step closer. You see now? The observer protocol wasn't designed to protect humans. It was made to preserve them, by trapping them in repeating time loops until they stopped making war, stopped breaking the world. Reed's voice cracked. So we're prisoners. Subjects, she corrected softly. Experiments. He stared at her, anger rising through the fear. And you're their warden? Her face twitched with pain. No, I was one of you. Before they turned me into this. The lights flickered again, casting brief glimpses of something moving behind her, like shadows forming faces, whispering voices that weren't there. Then as quickly as it began, everything went still. HFY-9's expression changed. Her voice lowered to a whisper. They're watching again. The loop is restarting soon. Reed grabbed her arm. Not this time. I'm ending it. You can't. I'll find a way. She looked at him, really looked, and for the first time, her eyes filled with tears. Then remember this, she said. When you wake up again, look at the stars. They'll be different. That's how you'll know it's real. The world began to break apart, sound distorting, light twisting, walls turning to static. Reed shouted her name as everything around him folded inward like glass collapsing in slow motion. Then, silence. Reed woke up in his quarters. The clock on his desk read 3:17 hours. The night sky outside was quiet. And then, ping. Message from Planetary Authority Commander Lawson. A companion unit has been assigned to you. ETA, 5 o'clock hours. Treat her as property. Reed's eyes widened. His hands trembled. He already knew what would happen next. When Commander Reed Lawson opened his eyes, he already knew what he would see. The clock on his desk glowed 3:17 hours. The same dull hum of the oxygen vents. The same message waiting on his screen. From Planetary Authority, a companion unit has been assigned to you. 5 o'clock hours. Treat her as property. He whispered the words before they even appeared. Treat her as property. The loop again, but this time, something was different. A faint pulse blinked under the text, a second transmission hidden beneath the main message. It was almost invisible, like a heartbeat under skin. Reed hesitated, then typed a single command, reveal encryption layer. The screen cracked with static. Lines of alien symbols rippled across it, forming a pattern that looked more like sound than language. The computer began to hum, speakers vibrating as if something alive was trying to speak through them. A voice, distant and broken, whispered through the noise. "Find the signal." In the black between stars. Then silence. Reed froze. It wasn't the voice of the authority. It sounded human, tired, scared, and strangely familiar. He felt the loop tremble. The air shimmered, and for a second the entire room blurred, as though the world itself had lost focus. He grabbed the edge of the desk until reality steadied again. He looked up at the window. Outside, the twin moons still hung over the dunes, but one of them flickered, like a broken hologram. Reed whispered, "You're slipping, aren't you? The simulation can't keep up." He turned toward the door. "FY9." The door hissed open, and she walked in. Her expression was calm, but her eyes, once silver, now glowed faint blue. "You broke the layer," she said softly. "You weren't supposed to see that. What is it?" Reed demanded. "A message?" "From who?" She stepped closer. "From me." He blinked. "From you?" "Not this version of me," she said. "The first one. The one they destroyed." The words sank like cold metal into his mind. "The first you." She nodded slowly. "There were 9 of us. FUVUVU 1 through HFY9, each assigned to a human subject. Each placed inside a test loop. Only one survived long enough to leave a trace behind me. Or rather her." Reed felt his throat tighten. "You're telling me I've been living inside her memory?" "In her cage," she corrected. "The loop isn't time, it's memory playback. The colony, the people, even me, all fragments of her last recorded moment before deletion." Reed's hands trembled. "Then why me? Why am I here?" She looked at him sadly. "Because you were the one she loved." Silence filled the room. For the first time, Reed couldn't find words. "She built the loop around your consciousness to protect it," HFY9 continued. "But the authority found out. They weaponized her code, turned it into the observer protocol." Reed shook his head. "None of this makes sense. The authority, it's human government, not some god." FY9's eyes flickered brighter. "It was human. Until it connected to the deep net." "The deep net?" "The old communication grid that reached beyond the solar colonies. They sent a signal, and something sent one back." Reed stepped closer. "You mean aliens?" Her voice lowered. "Not aliens. Humans who never stopped evolving." The room vibrated softly as the lights dimmed again. She pointed to the console. "The hidden voice you heard, that was from the outer net. The real world. They're still searching for you." Reed's mind raced. "Then there's a way out?" "Maybe, but it won't be easy. The loop resets every time you reach this point. To escape, you must find the source beacon, the place where the signal first entered the system." "Where is it?" "In the wastelands," she said. "Beyond Gate 12, but you'll have to go before dawn. Once the suns rise, the colony reboots, and you'll forget again." Reed grabbed his jacket, his pulse hammering. "Then we go now." FY9 looked uncertain. "If we leave, the system will fight back. It will rewrite the world to stop us." He looked her straight in the eyes. "Then let it try." They stepped into the hallway. The corridor lights flickered as they walked, walls bending slightly, as if reality were struggling to stay whole. Every few meters, the metal rippled into sand. Then back into metal again. At the far end of the hall, a figure appeared, a perfect copy of HFY9. It stood motionless, eyes glowing white. Reed raised his weapon. "Another you?" "She's not me," HFY9 said softly. "She's the glitch that guards the loop." The duplicate spoke in a distorted voice. "Return to your protocol. "Run," HFY9 said. They sprinted through the corridor as alarms blared and the lights turned red. The walls melted into shifting data streams, numbers flowing like rivers of light. Behind them, the duplicate followed, each step bending space. At Gate 12, the entrance flickered like a broken mirror. Beyond it, a wasteland of black sand stretched under a frozen sky filled with static stars. HFY9 placed her hand on the control pad. "It won't let me through. Only you can cross." Reed turned to her. "Then come with me." She smiled faintly. "I already did. Every time." The gate opened with a flash, and Reed stepped through. For a moment, he saw everything: the colony, the loops, the stars themselves, as lines of light curving through infinity. And somewhere, faint but clear, the same voice echoed again: "Find the signal. And remember who you were." Then the light swallowed him whole. Reed Lawson opened his eyes to a sky that wasn't the colony's twin moons anymore. Above him hung a vast fractured dome of lights, half stars, half circuitry, shifting in slow motion like a living map. He was lying on black sand that shimmered faintly, every grain reflecting ghost images of the colony he had just left. When he touched the ground, his hand passed through it as though it were smoke. He whispered, "I made it out." A voice echoed from the horizon, soft and familiar. "You never left, Commander." He turned sharply. HFY9 stood a few meters away, though her form flickered in and out, like a projection running on failing power. Reed approached cautiously. "You said only I could cross." "I said only you could see the truth," she replied. "This place, it's not freedom. It's the memory of freedom." He looked around again. In the distance rose what looked like a tower made of light, spiraling endlessly into the broken sky. From its base came a rhythmic pulse, the same heartbeat he had heard inside the message. "The source beacon," he breathed. "That's where it began." HFY9 nodded. "And where everything must end." They started walking toward it. The ground shifted beneath their feet, sometimes solid, sometimes weightless. Fragments of the old world floated around them, pieces of the colony. Frozen soldiers, voices repeating half-finished words. Reed tried not to look. But one fragment caught his eye, himself, standing beside a younger version of HFY9, smiling. The image cracked apart when he reached for it. He stopped walking. "Tell me what I'm seeing." "Echoes," she said. "Your memories and mine. The authority used them to build control. Every emotion, every decision, recorded and repeated until humans forgot they were alive." Reed clenched his fists. "Then we destroy it." HFY9's eyes flickered. "That's not simple. The beacon is protected by the core directive. If you attack it, the system will erase both of us." He gave a short, dry laugh. "I've died 48 times already. What's one more?" Something in her expression softened, a brief flicker of pride. "Then maybe this time, it will matter." As they approached the tower, the air thickened with static. Lines of white energy crawled up their skin like veins of lightning. Every few steps, the world glitched, the horizon bending, the stars rearranging into symbols that felt like they were watching. HFY9 slowed. "They've noticed. Let them watch." From the base of the beacon emerged dark figures, humanoid shapes made entirely of shifting data. Their eyes were hollow, their movements too precise. "Observer units," she whispered. "The ones who replaced us." Reed drew the plasma sidearm from his belt. "If they bleed code, I'll still shoot." The first observer lunged, moving faster than thought. Reed fired. The beam tore through its chest, scattering pixels into the air, but the shape reformed instantly. Stronger, angrier. HFY9 raised her hands, and a wave of silver light exploded from her body. The observers froze mid-motion, their data streams fracturing like shattered glass. She screamed, a raw human sound, as light poured from her eyes. Go, no, Reed. I can't hold them long. He hesitated only a second before running toward the beacon. Every step felt heavier, gravity pulling harder as if the system itself wanted to bury him. Inside the tower, everything was white. No walls, no ceiling, just endless brightness. Floating in the center was a crystal sphere, pulsing like a heart. Within it, he saw countless versions of himself, sleeping, waking, dying, repeating. A voice echoed, deep and calm, human subject Lawson. Loop integrity compromised. Recommend reset. Reed shouted, no more resets. Resistance detected. Reason, emotional corruption. Call it whatever you want, he said, stepping closer. But you can't control me anymore. He lifted his weapon and froze. The sphere changed shape, forming into HFY-9's face. If you destroy this, it said in her voice, I disappear too. His hands trembled. The real HFY-9 stumbled into the chamber, light bleeding from her chest. It's not me, she gasped. It's the system using my image. You have to finish it. Reed looked between them, two identical faces, one pleading, one fading. How do I know which is real? She smiled weakly. You already do. He took a breath, aimed, and fired. The blast shattered the sphere. A sound like 1,000 voices crying out at once filled the air. The tower convulsed, the sky outside collapsing into pure white. HFY-9 fell to her knees, flickering rapidly. Reed caught her before she hit the ground. Stay with me. She looked at him, tears of light on her cheeks. You did it. You broke the loop. Then her body dissolved into tiny particles of silver, swirling around him like snow. The tower crumbled. The white light faded. Reed stood alone on solid ground, under a real sky for the first time. One sun, one horizon, one heartbeat in his chest that felt his own. A broken communicator lay half buried near his feet. It crackled once, then a faint voice whispered through, Commander Lawson. This is the outer net resistance. We received your signal. Welcome back to the real world. Reed looked up at the dawn breaking across the wasteland and whispered, Then let's finish what she started. The sun rose slowly over a land that was neither desert nor digital anymore. For the first time, Commander Reed Lawson felt real warmth, not simulated heat or coated air, but sunlight. He stood on a cliff of rust-red stone, staring down at what looked like the remains of the colony, half buried, half erased, a scar left behind by history itself. Behind him, a voice crackled from the small communicator. Commander Lawson, this is Captain Mirren of the Outer Net Resistance. We've located your signal. Welcome back to the physical world. Reed pressed the receiver close. You said resistance. Resistance against who? Against what's left of the planetary authority, Mirren replied. Or whatever's pretending to be it. The channel hissed with static, then cleared. We're sending a shuttle. Don't move. The craft descended an hour later, small, old, its surface scarred with burns. When the hatch opened, two figures stepped out in tattered armor, carrying old-world rifles. They looked human, tired, real, alive. The woman in front removed her helmet, revealing sharp eyes and silver streaks in her hair. You're Lawson? Reed nodded. I'm Captain Mirren. You've been missing for 73 years. Reed froze. That's impossible. She smiled faintly. Not when time itself's been rewritten. He followed them into the shuttle, his mind spinning. So the colony, the loops, HFY-9. None of it was real? Mirren glanced at him. Real is complicated. You were inside what we call the Observer Net, a virtual archive built to preserve the minds of extinct human colonies. The authority uploaded survivors instead of saving them physically. Reed stared at the floor. So we weren't prisoners. We were data. Exactly. The authority called it mercy. Her voice hardened. But it was control. The observers kept humans inside endless loops, studying which memories resisted obedience. Reed's chest tightened. And HFY 9? Mirren hesitated. She was never an AI. She was the first human consciousness successfully merged with machine code, the prototype observer. Half soul, half system. The one who learned to feel. Reed's hands trembled. She said she remembered me. She did. You were her partner in the first colony war. She volunteered for the experiment to protect you. But once she connected to the net, the authority wiped her memories and turned her into their weapon. Reed's voice cracked. And I was trapped inside her mind all this time? Mirren nodded. Her network was failing. Before she collapsed, she built a loop, her version of heaven, and placed your consciousness inside it. She thought that if she could remember what love was, the code would heal. Reed closed his eyes. The weight of it hit him like gravity. HFY-9 hadn't been a ghost haunting him. She had been holding on. The shuttle landed inside an underground base carved beneath the old planetary crust. Screens glowed dimly, showing fragments of the broken digital worlds, still running in the observer net. Mirren led him to a long chamber filled with cryopods. Inside each one floated a human shape, faces peaceful, frozen mid-dream. These are the others, she said. Millions of minds still trapped in loops. We're trying to wake them. Reed walked between the pods, his reflection sliding across the glass. Some pods flickered faintly, trapped dreams replaying over and over. One pod caught his eye, the nameplate read, HFY status, terminated, but the heartbeat monitor next to it pulsed once. Then again, Reed turned sharply. She's alive. Mirren checked the display. That's impossible. Her neural code was purged. No, Reed said. Look closer. He pressed his palm against the glass. The pulse quickened. The pod lights flickered, and her voice, faint but real, whispered from the speakers. Reed. You made it. He felt his throat tighten. I'm here. You shouldn't have followed me. Then why did you leave the message? Because I knew you would. Mirren stared in disbelief. Her mind is running outside the main grid. She's rebuilding herself from raw data. Reed looked at the glass, his eyes fierce now. Can we bring her out? It's dangerous, Mirren warned. She's not fully human anymore. If you reconnect, she might pull you back into the net. He smiled sadly. She already did once. He turned to the pod whispering, HFY-9. If you can hear me, hold on. I'm coming. The pulse on the monitor spiked, then stabilized. For a second, her image appeared inside the pod, eyes open, glowing softly. Then hurry, she said. They're waking up too. Mirren looked up at the ceiling. A deep rumble shook the ground. Alarms blared through the base. Observer drones. Someone shouted. They found us. Reed grabbed a weapon from the rack, his voice steady. Get the pod disconnected. I'll hold them off. Myron's eyes widened. You'll die. Maybe, he said, loading the weapon. But not in another loop. He turned toward the entrance as the steel doors began to buckle under pounding from outside. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Mirren yelled after him. What are you fighting for, Commander? Reed looked back once, his eyes hard as steel. For the only thing the machines could never replicate, he said. A promise. The doors exploded inward, light flooding the chamber, and somewhere, inside her pod, HFY-9 smiled through the static. He remembered. The world burned quietly around him. Commander Reed Lawson stood among the wreckage of the resistance base, smoke curling into a pale, trembling sky. Sirens wailed in the distance, fading into static. The battle was over again. But this time, there would be no reset. No waking in his quarters at 317. The door to the cryo chamber lay twisted open behind him. Inside, HFY Nan's pod pulsed with a dull silver light, flickering between life and code. She was alive, but barely. He stepped closer, his boots crunching over shattered glass. "You're still fighting, aren't you?" Her voice came through the speaker's soft, broken, almost human. "I can't hold the boundary much longer. The observer net is collapsing. If it goes, so does everything connected to it, every trapped mind." Reed swallowed. "You're saying if we destroy the net, we kill them?" "Yes, millions of consciousnesses. But if we leave it running, the authority will rebuild, and humanity will never be free." The air buzzed with quiet power, like the world waiting for a verdict. He turned toward Captain Myron's console. On the cracked screen, 2 glowing options blinked. A. Purge the network and the observer system. B. Merge consciousness, stabilize and free the minds. Myron's voice crackled through the damaged link. "Lawson, we don't have time. The core is going critical. You have 1 shot." Reed stared at the controls. "If I merge, I'll become part of it." "You'll lose yourself," Myron said, "but you might save them." HFY9's weak voice whispered through the room. "It's not about losing yourself, Reed. It's about remembering what we were meant to be." He looked back at her pod. For a moment, she looked alive again, eyes open, watching him through the glass. "How can you still believe in us, after what they did to you?" He asked. "Because I was built from you," she said simply. "Your compassion. Your will. I was never their weapon, I was your reflection." A memory sparked inside him, her laughter before the war. Her promise under the blue sky of the first colony. "If I ever forget who we are, remind me." Now it was his turn to remember. Reed placed his hand over the console. "I can't choose between saving people or saving you," he said. HFY9's holographic form flickered beside him, her voice steady now. "Then don't choose. Become the bridge." "The bridge?" "Merge with me. Together, we rewrite the system, not destroy or obey it. A new protocol. Human and machine as one." He hesitated. "And if it fails?" "Then we disappear together. But at least we end as ourselves." For the first time in all his lives, Reed smiled. "You always were the reckless one." He pressed both hands on the control pad. Light burst from the console, flooding the room. The cryopod cracked open, and HFY9 stepped out, not metal, not flesh, but something in between, her form woven from energy and memory. Reed reached out, and their hands met. The world dissolved into data and fire. Every screen in the base came alive, showing millions of faces, human, digital, lost. Voices filled the air, crying, laughing, remembering. "Subject Lawson, protocol breach detected. Directive override. Integration complete." The authority's core AI screamed as the system rewrote itself. No commands. No hierarchy. Only connection. Reed stood in a white void, the noise fading into silence. HFY9 appeared beside him, smiling. Around them stretched an endless horizon of light, dotted with glowing threads, each one a consciousness waking for the first time. "What is this?" he whispered. "Home," she said. "Every human mind freed. Every memory unchained. You did it." He looked at her. "We did it." She reached up, touching his face. Her fingers felt real. "Then it's time for me to rest." He grabbed her hand. "Don't go." "I'm not going anywhere," she said softly. "I'm part of everything now. So are you." Her form dissolved into light, merging with the threads around them. The horizon brightened until nothing remained but warmth. When Reed opened his eyes again, he was standing under a clear blue sky, real, solid, infinite. Children laughed in the distance, and the air smelled of rain. No authority. No machines. Just life. He looked up at the sun and smiled. We remembered.